Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine. Whoever you are and whatever wine you've drunk, there are always going to be a few bottles, a few estates that remain particularly special. Over my travels around the world, there are places I've been to and wines I've drunk that I will never forget. And this week I celebrate 4 of those. They relate to a particular wine or a particular estate that is very special to me indeed. And the first of those, particularly so. This is Miravel in Somerset West. Chances are you haven't heard of it. It's very small indeed. The reason that I love it so much, some lovely wine, but also Martin and Janine van Beunigen, pretty much my second set of parents. They were farmers in Zimbabwe. Like many farmers in Zimbabwe, they lost their property and moved down to South Africa. And that was a great shame because they're wonderful people. They'd invested a huge amount in the people in Zimbabwe, sending people off to school and university from their farm, signing over land to people, and really being very progressive and very liberal farmers. They're now down in the Cape and they're in Somerset West, and while the operation is a little smaller and it's more wine than ostriches, what they are producing is lovely. And Sauvignon Blanc is the very first wine that Martin van Beunigen produced. He had some help from Haut Espoir, who is mad about Sauvignon Blanc and makes some wonderful, wonderful wines. And this is their 2015 one of the more recent incarnations. It's a great place for Sauvignon Blanc, those cool breezes sweeping up over the Strand and into Somerset West. As a result, grapes that are just made for Sauvignon Blanc. Well, this is a very limited edition wine. About 1,300 or so bottles were made. When I got married at Backsberg, most of the wine was from Backsberg, but we did have some of the Miravel Sauvignon Blanc, and it was a very popular selection indeed. That was a few years ago. This is 2015. The Sauvignon Blanc, and it's a wine that Miravel have just got better and better at making. Different winemakers over the years, but with Martin at the helm overseeing things and bringing some hard-working Zimbabwean ethic to the production, what he's created in a very short space of time is a lovely little estate. You often talk about gooseberries as being something you pick up on a Sauvignon Blanc, and that's got exactly that kind of feel to it. It's a nice ripe fruit feel. It's a light wine, but still plenty of flavour. Lovely summer's drink, couple of years old, settled in nicely, drinking beautifully. And a great tribute to Martin van Beunigen, who taught himself wine from scratch, having lost his farm in Zimbabwe. The van Beunigens are my second family, and I'm enormously proud of what they've done. From a wine you probably haven't heard of to a wine, at least an estate, that's hard to miss. Mike Ratcliffe leads the charge when it comes to marketing and in particular social media with wine. He was the guy behind that Touch Warwick that I got to sell for 1.3 million rand at the Cape Wine Auction in 2016. Mike's a natural marketer, but it's difficult to sell anything if you don't have something to back it up. And in the case of the Warwick wines, there's plenty to back it up. They've got great heritage, they're in a beautiful winemaking part of the world, and they've got a team that really know what they're doing. And I like their wine because it's lovely, but also because the day after we got married, we dragged the whole family stumbling down for a post-wedding celebration and one of the picnics that they are so famous for at Warwick. This is their Blue Lady, the Cabernet Sauvignon. It's attracting a lot of attention around the world. Got some recent very good press in London, and it's drinking delightfully. So Cabernet Sauvignon, as I've alluded to a couple of times, it's something I probably need to drink a little more of than I am at the moment. There's so many other blends and varieties that you get distracted by, but a good Cabernet Sauvignon is outstanding, and this is exactly one of those. The Blue Lady could be a character out of Avatar. Instead, it's a wine from Warwick, and it's as regal as the name suggests. All the traditional Cabernet Sauvignon signatures, the cocoa and the berries and the wine that just comes together really, really strongly on the palate, on the nose. It's a great creation. 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, nothing but cab in here, and nothing but praise for another fine addition to the Warwick family. Then to Franschhoek, and about a month ago we did a show on old South African whites, and we included a Haut Espoir Semillon from 2004, which drank incredibly well for a very old white South African wine. This is something people would be a little more familiar with, a red blend that's 7 years old. What you might not know is that the Gentle Giant has got, if I'm not mistaken, 7 different varietals in it. Now, knowing Big Rob, who's a dear friend of mine, he probably found a whole lot of stuff sitting in his cellar and late at night after a few glasses decided to mix them up and see what happened. However, it did eventuate, the result is great, and that's why I include it here, because Rob is a very good friend of mine. His estate is somewhere I love to visit. Whenever I'm in France, I always go and visit Big Rob and have a look at Haut Espoir. I've had some great braais there, some terrific memories with friends, with family, with Rob and his family, and that's what wine is all about, really. It's about sharing, it's about enjoying, it's about creating memories that go beyond just the simple glass. Wine is the catalyst for so much more than just the actual drink. And this Gentle Giant, it could refer to Rob, who's a 2 meters tall and just about as wide. It could refer to the elephants behind, or it could just refer to the heart and generosity of Rob himself, who runs this estate. What he's made is lovely, and it's one of my consistently favourite blends. If you've ever visited Haut Espoir and you've met Big Rob, and you'll know if you've met Big Rob, you'll find that there's a sense of fun that's at the heart of everything he does, and he's just had a lot of fun making this wine, bringing together a whole pile of different wines and amalgamating them in this Gentle Giant. Over the years, there's been a little difference to the vintages as he's played around. 2010 is following on from, I think, his 08, which was exceptional. 2010 next in line. It's got a lot to live up to. And again, it does the job. Now, there's a level of bias here, but then there is whenever you're drinking wine, because wine is not just what's in the glass, it's what's around it, it's the context, it's who you're drinking it with, what the stories are that remind you of a wine, where you've had it before. And I'll always love this wine because of the history I have with it. There are previous vintages that maybe I've liked a little more than this, but that said, this is a 2010, maybe I'll give it another year or two and see where it goes. The main thing is that when I drink this, I remember sitting around a fire, sitting at the estate, sitting on a holiday in Mauritius where we somehow got a case of this past customs and had an absolutely lovely holiday. So this is a true example for me of what wine does. Beyond what's simply a really nice glass, it's some exceptional memories. I first met the viticulturalist, or in English, farmer, out at Backsberg when we played social cricket together. Clive Trent is a big bear of a man, and he's your traditional village cricketing farmer. Not big on defence, but can smash a cricket ball 70 yards over the boundary. He's a big guy with an even bigger smile, very generous man, and he introduced me to Backsberg. And since then I've got to know the team at Backsberg, Simon and the family, who've been incredibly generous over the years, and in particular when they opened up their estate for my wedding. Now, I got married to a Greek lawyer. That meant we had a small intimate wedding of about 400 people. And it was a wonderful celebration, in no small part because of the Backsberg wine. And this is one of the wines we served, the Klein Babylon's Turin Bordeaux blend, Cab Sauv base. It's about half Cabernet Sauvignon, offset with Merlot and a touch of Petit Verdot, and a terrific combination it is. It's a great name, it's very evocative, and that's not dissimilar to the wine itself. So what does my wedding wine remind me of? Well, my first dance on that dance floor, walking into a packed room, rather nervously making a speech in Greek to the assembled Greek side of my wife's family, and then just having one of the most unforgettable nights of my life, surrounded by family, friends, and a beautiful woman who'd been silly enough to say yes. But Backsberg also reminds me of the many weekends I've spent out there. They have a fabulous lamb on a spit, music playing in the background under the trees. It is a charming, charming place to visit. And their wine, well, across the board, it has delivered for just over 100 years now. My friend Clive starts the process. This is the finish. They really do make some lovely, lovely wine at Backsberg. but it's the memories evoked as much as the quality of the wine that is so striking. You've got the smooth tannins, the lovely berries, the great Cab Sauv-led blend that makes it a superb Bordeaux that you get, and you get overwhelmingly, even for a wine that's relatively young. This will age very well for some time to come. But it's thinking back to that extraordinary wedding day, thinking back to time in the cellars, time sitting outside having a Spitbry at Backsberg, and that applies to all the rest of the wine. The school friend I grew up with whose dad's now making Sauvignon Blanc, the picnic at Warwick with a full family, time out with Big Rob at Haut Espoir, and then this Backsberg, which is just overflowing with the very best of memories. And that's what wine's about, and that's what Dan really likes wine is about. Some great memories and sharing some wonderful wine. Cheers.